I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Nightline, the top stories. PM clarifies Sabah's 40% federal revenue entitlement issue, says government only appealing flaws in court judgment. And the Apex Court rules government retains ownership in Duta Enclave land dispute. Good morning. The federal government has decided not to appeal against the 40% revenue entitlement for Sabah, acknowledging that it is enshrined in the federal constitution and constitutes the state's rightful share. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said Putrajaya will, however, file a limited appeal focusing only on certain parts of the court's written judgment which are deemed inaccurate. During the Minister's question time in Parliament, Anwar clarified that the appeal will focus solely on legal reasoning within the judgment, which described actions taken by the federal and Sabah government since 1974 as unlawful, irrational, procedurally improper and disproportionate.
Saya tidak mahu ini jadi politik dalam soal 40%. Kerana itu tidak dirayu. Tetapi kenyataan-kenyataan yang kita anggap tidak selaras dan tidak tepat harus dirayu. Kalau tidak, tanpa rayuan ini bermakna hukuman ke atas kerajaan di bawah pimpinan Tun Razak, Kerajaan Persekutuan, sejak 1974, semua anggota kerajaan dan Tun Datuk Mustafa Tun Fuad Stephens sejak 74 di Sabah, semua kerajaan, semua parti yang terlibat.
The Prime Minister's announcement follows a special cabinet meeting on Tuesday, during which members reached a consensus not to challenge the Kota Kinabalu High Court's decision on Sabah's 40% entitlement. At the same meeting, Attorney General Tan Sri Muhammad Dusuki Mokhtar briefed the cabinet on what was described as flaws in the judgment, which suggested both the federal and Sabah governments had abused their powers and violated constitutional obligations. As such, Putrajaya will proceed with a limited appeal focused only on challenging the court's reasoning.
Apakah kerajaan boleh berdiam bila dikatakan kita telah bertindak unconstitutional sejak 74? Satu. Apakah boleh dia tafsir, boleh kita diam dan tidak membatalkan atau expunge rekod yang menyatakan illegal, irrational, procedurally improper or disproportionate? Ini belum pernah berlaku dalam keputusan mahkamah sebegitu keras dan melibatkan seluruh pembuah kerajaan sejak dahulu.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister clarified that discussions on Sabah's 40% special revenue grant would not be delayed despite the state administration's status as a caretaker government.
Proses telah berjalan. Sekarang sekurang-kurangnya Ketua Setiausaha Perbendaharaan menulis kepada Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri mengatakan boleh mula berunding soal-soal teknikal, termasuk apa yang disebut oleh dalam penghakiman. Kemudian dalam tugas teknikal tentunya dibincangkan bahawa untuk rujuk pada Menteri Keuangan, Ketua Menteri dan Jemaah Menteri, tentunya tunggu sehingga selesai pilihan raya dan kerajaan baru dibentuk. Tapi saya tidak fikir ia menghalang perbincangan teknikal terlebih dahulu untuk memudahkan perundingan.
Anwar also dismissed claims that Putrajaya has neglected Sabah, noting that the state received the highest allocation in the 2025 budget of 17.6 billion ringgit, reflecting the federal government's continued commitment to strengthening development in the state. The allocation covers key infrastructure projects including electricity and water supply, telecommunications, as well as the Pan-Borneo Highway. At a separate event, the Prime Minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to tackling cartel activities and smuggling as part of its efforts to safeguard the nation. Anwar noted that these issues had persisted for decades but were previously left unchecked due to a lack of political will in the past.
Kartel, gangster, rompakan, penyeludupan baru berlaku 2 tahun ini? Tidak, puluhan tahun. Terbiar. Tidak ada upaya tekad politik. Anak-anak dikasih sekalian, dia tidak mudah. Risiko besar. Baik pada SPRM, LHDN, polis.
The Prime Minister said this when officiating the International Higher Education Institution's Islamic Studies Convention. Anwar also criticised those who remained silent despite the successes of enforcement agencies in dismantling cartels and curbing smuggling. He revealed that stringent enforcement measures have recovered up to 15.5 billion ringgit in state revenue over the past 2 years. During his speech, the Prime Minister also commented on the Malaysia-US Reciprocal Trade Agreement signed during last month's 47th ASEAN Summit in KL. He stressed that Malaysia remains independent, sovereign and free from subordination to any country, including the United States.
Kalau benar kita ini tunduk kepada Amerika, mengapa hari Ahad saya sign dengan Presiden Trump, hari Isnin kita sign dengan negara China?
He added that the trade agreement with the US is intended to safeguard Malaysia's national rights and security. The Prime Minister emphasised that Malaysia also reserves the right to annul any provisions that conflict with national interests. Moving on, Sumantan Estate Sendirian Berhad has failed in its attempt to overturn a Court of Appeal ruling after the Federal Court unanimously dismissed its appeal, preventing the company from registering the 263-acre Duta Enclave land in Kuala Lumpur under its name. The Apex Court also confirmed that title to the land will remain with the government and that the company is only entitled to compensation based on the land value in 1956. The three-member bench comprised Chief Judge of Malaya Tan Sri Hasnah Muhammad Hashim, Federal Court Judge Dato' Hanifah Fariqullah and Court of Appeal Judge Dato' Cik Muhammad Ruzima Ghazali. The Federal Court ruled that the 26 legal questions raised by Sumantan Estate did not meet the threshold for the merits of the appeal to be heard. The dispute stems from Sumantan Estate's claim that the government unlawfully acquired the land in 1956. The Federal Court fixed November 13th to rule on the company's leave application. The Duta Enclave currently houses government buildings such as the National Hockey Stadium, the Malaysian Institute of Integrity, the National Archives, the Kuala Lumpur Sharia Court, the Inland Revenue Board building and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Academy. In June 2025, the Court of Appeal directed the High Court to determine the compensation within 90 days, while confirming that title registration would not be granted. Malaysia is expected to face a more challenging year ahead as global uncertainties continue to weigh on trade and growth. Treasury Secretary-General Datuk Johan Mahmud Merican said while the government remains committed to fiscal reforms and deficit reduction, it is equally focused on sustaining economic momentum and job creation amid a softer global outlook.
We're still very confident of reaching 4%, so there's no talk about a recession or crisis, but certainly the outlook next year continues to be weaker than this year. And so hence that comes back to your point. So we want to ensure that even though we are undertaking fiscal consolidation, we're very cognizant of the importance of ensuring that fiscal policy remains expansionary.
By popular demand.
Johan was speaking at a panel session at the 51st Deloitte Tax Max seminar on Thursday. He said the government's medium-term fiscal consolidation strategy aims to achieve a deficit of 3% by 2028 without jeopardizing growth. He noted that the fiscal deficit has been steadily reduced from 5.5% in 2022 to 5% in 2023 and 4.1% in 2024. Johan added that Malaysia's fiscal discipline and reform credibility have strengthened investor confidence, reflected in the ringgit's appreciation this year. A special team led by an Assistant Commissioner of Police has been set up to reopen the probe into the disappearances of activists Amri Chekmat and Pastor Raymond Koh. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail assured that the reinvestigation would be conducted transparently and free from interference to ensure justice is fully served.
Walaupun siasatan sebelum ini tak pernah ditutup, tapi kali ini akan diketuai oleh seorang pegawai polis berpangkat ACP. Sekarang sudah pun bermula. Dan mereka akan teliti semua kertas siasatan awal, laporan sohakam, laporan pasukan petugas khas. Mereka akan mendapatkan keterangan-keterangan baru.
Speaking in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday, Saifuddin said the team will be required to submit progress reports to the Attorney General every 2 months, as directed by the Kuala Lumpur High Court. On November 5th, High Court Judge Datuk Su Tiang Ju ordered the government to pay more than 3 million ringgit in damages to Amri's wife and over 37 million ringgit to Koh's family after ruling that the police had failed to conduct proper investigations into their disappearances. Amri was reported missing on November 24th, 2016, while Koh disappeared on February 13th, 2017. At a separate event, Saifuddin said a preliminary report on the recent boat capsize tragedy involving undocumented migrants will be presented at the cabinet meeting on Friday.
Itu satu tragedi yang saya kena bentangkan besok Datuk KSU laporan awal kepada Masyarakat Menteri. Saya diminta oleh Perdana Menteri untuk sampaikan sebab ini barangkali terlibat dengan organised crime, pemerdagangan manusia, trafficking in person dan segala macam.
Saifuddin was speaking at the 4th Royal Malaysian Police Special Dialogue held in Sepang, Selangor. The incident has drawn significant attention due to extensive coverage in both local and international media. Saifuddin noted that since 2010, around 2,300 landings of undocumented migrants have been recorded in Langkawi. Meanwhile, another body from the migrant boat that capsized off Langkawi was recovered at 4:31 p.m. on Thursday, bringing the total number of victims to 28. Kedah and Perlis State Maritime Director First Admiral Romli Mustafa said his team received a report about the body of an adult male found on Pulau Beras Basah. A boat from the Civil Defence Force was dispatched to the location to retrieve the body, which was later handed over to the police. So far, the number of survivors remains at 14. The government is planning the Smallholder Oil Palm Replanting Financing Incentive Scheme 3.0 to boost support for smallholders. Plantation and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said last year's oil palm replanting rate was only around 2%, far below the ideal target of 4 to 5%. Johari explained that the low replanting rate was caused by several factors, including funding constraints and higher replanting costs. He said costs have increased every year and are now between 18,000 and 20,000 ringgit per hectare.
Untuk pekebun-pekebun kecil, dana yang diperuntukkan untuk penanaman semula ini agak kecil. Contohnya pada tahun 2024, kerajaan hanya memberi lebih kurang 100 juta. 2025 hanya 50 juta. Dan sebahagian daripada dana yang diperuntukkan ini, 50% kita anggap sebagai grant dan 50% kita anggap sebagai pinjaman.
Johari added that the new scheme is hybrid in nature as it combines grants and loans with a proposed 4% interest subsidy. Petronas has appointed former Kuala Lumpur Mayor Datuk Sri Maimunah Muhammad Sharif as its property advisor effective November 17th. In a statement on Thursday, the National Oil Company said Maimunah will provide strategic guidance in shaping the next phase of growth for its property portfolio, including developments on the Sungai Besi land, Kota Madani and other related projects. Petronas management welcomed Maimunah, describing her as a globally respected leader and technocrat with over 40 years of experience in sustainable urban development, and expressed confidence that her expertise will be a valuable asset to the company. Earlier, Chief Secretary to the Government, Tan Sri Syamsul Azri Abu Bakar, said in a statement that the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim had consented to shorten Maimunah's tenure as KL Mayor to Friday instead of August 16th next year. The adjustment was made to facilitate her appointment to the GLC, which has been entrusted with developing a new landmark in the federal capital. Malaysia has begun talks with Singapore and Indonesia on a potential special economic zone trilateral cooperation. The Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry MITI said senior officials from all three countries are currently reviewing the matter in detail. According to MITI, similar discussions had taken place in the past but were never pursued, noting that an in-depth study is needed to assess the impact. Singapore previously said the cooperation could link Johor, Indonesia's Batam, Bintan, Karimun Islands and Singapore into a regional economic network. If realized, the initiative could strengthen ASEAN's regional economic integration and promote a more inclusive growth ecosystem. UK economic growth slowed to a near standstill in the third quarter after a major cyber attack disrupted production at the country's biggest automaker. The Office for National Statistics reported that the economy grew just 0.1% between July and September, down from 0.3% in the previous quarter and below expectations for 0.2%. Officials said the cyber attack on Jaguar Land Rover was a key factor behind the weaker growth. The August 31st attack forced factory shutdowns and sent workers home, halting production across JLR and its suppliers. The disruption rippled through the UK auto industry, with industrial output down 2% in September and car and trailer manufacturing plunging nearly 29%. The slowdown is a blow to the British government just weeks before a key budget expected to include fresh tax hikes. Thirty-three outstanding Malaysian women were honoured at Malaysia's Top 30 Women of Excellence Awards 2025 for their remarkable contributions in business, education, the arts, science, philanthropy and social advocacy. Top 30 Media founder and managing director Alvin Sinclair said the awards go beyond recognition, serving as a platform to celebrate the spirit, strength and perseverance of women nationwide. Held under the theme Excellence as a Spectrum, Not a Summit, this year's awards underscored the idea that success is not a destination, but an ongoing journey marked by resilience, growth and purpose.
So all the women that has won today or has been honoured with this amazing award today, I foresee them empowering other women, the younger generation, So that is something that I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to.
At the event, 4 women were presented with special awards in recognition of their extraordinary impact and lifelong contributions. Among them were Tun Dr. Hasmah Muhammad Ali, who received a Lifetime Achievement Award, and national badminton player Teo Ee Wei, honoured with the Sports Icon Award. One of the 33 honorees, TV3 personality Fiza Sabjahan, said her award reflects her dedication and commitment throughout her career in the media industry.
Sebenarnya saya rasa dia bukan sekadar penghargaan tapi lebih kepada amanah. Ini bermaksud lepas ni tanggungjawab lebih berat, lebih besar. Jadi kita kena perlu lebih banyak untuk sama-sama membimbing, membantu orang lain dalam usaha yang sama, memberi inspirasi juga.
Name we freed on police bail in influencer death probe. This and more after this breather.
Halo, my name is Leah Prinsy. Saya berwatak sebagai Cinta.
Halo, saya Alputra Saira. Saya memainkan watak Rangga.
Halo, saya Riri Riza.
Hai, saya Mira Lesmana.
Jangan lupa nonton film Rangga dan Cinta sekarang. Beli tiketnya sekarang.
Dapatkan tiketnya sekarang.
Arif, kalau kereta laba, awak suka kereta macam mana? Okay. Saya suka kereta klasik.
Saya mestilah Proton Saga, kereta pertama buatan Malaysia.
Arif, lelaki dia suka pernafasan bila ada masalah. Awak jangan macam tu. Sekarang banyak kes kesihatan mental lelaki.
Awak dah kahwin kan? Kalau nak jumpa mak bapak awak, kena minta kebenaran suami ke?
Takkan sampai nak minta.
Kena tahulah hak ibu dan bapa selepas anak berkahwin.
Musim hujan ribut sekarang ni bahaya. Hati-hati bila lalu kawasan yang banyak pokok.
Isnin hingga Jumaat, jam 10 pagi.
Eksklusif ditonton dari TV3.
Wanita hari ini.
Cinta tidak sepatutnya menyakitkan.
Jangan biarkan hati terus luka dalam cinta toksik.
Gulai tunjang ayam belado daging dendeng pasti sedap kan?
Aneka menu Minang kami kongsikan lamak bana.
Betul ke Gen Z tak pandai berdikari?
Sama-sama kita kongsikan.
Susahlah nak cari yang sekufu.
Bukan sekadar sama minat, tetapi teman sejiwa.
Bila cinta tidak lagi berbicara,
mungkin hati sudah letih untuk mendengar.
Semuanya di WHI TV3
dan stream sekarang ditonton.
Wanita hari ini.
Mira nak kongsikan sedikit panduan keselamatan anak ketika di luar rumah. Pastikan keadaan sekeliling, pantau pergerakan anak dan jangan biarkan mereka berkeliaran jauh daripada anda. Elakkan pemakaian barang kemas yang berlebihan. Yang terakhir, boleh bawa whistle bersama. Jerit sekuat hati atau tiup whistle untuk menarik perhatian orang sekeliling sekiranya diganggu atau merasa terancam. Dapatkan pelbagai informasi bermanfaat bersama Nona setiap Ahad jam 2 petang di TV3.
Welcome back. In Selangor, a man suspected of being involved in a robbery was arrested after he hit a police officer when he was spotted by police at a petrol station in Pesiaran Raja Muda Musa in Kelang on Thursday. South Kelang District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Ramli Kasa said at around 2:20 p.m, officers came across a white car which they suspected had been used in a robbery in Subang Jaya on Wednesday. A video recorded by a member of the public at the scene of the incident went viral on social media, showing the suspect's fleeing vehicle. In a statement, Ramli said when the police team approached the man at the petrol station to apprehend him, the suspect acted aggressively and pushed a police officer and drove off in his car. In his attempt to escape, the suspect's car nearly ran over a police officer's leg. The suspect then abandoned his vehicle along Pesiaran Sultan Ibrahim before fleeing on foot. The police officer involved was later sent to Tengku Ampuan Rahimah Hospital for treatment. Acting on information at about 12:45 a.m. on Thursday, the police arrested the 33-year-old local man in the Bandar Bukit Tinggi area. The suspect has a prior record with 20 criminal offences and 5 drug-related cases. The police have opened an investigation paper under the Penal Code for obstructing a public servant and attempted murder. Rapper Wee Meng Chi, also known as Name Wee, was released on Thursday on police bail as investigators await the autopsy report for the Taiwanese influencer Xie Yu Sin. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Dato' Fadil Marsus in a brief statement confirmed that Wee would be released on police bail until November 26, saying investigation papers had been referred to the prosecutor's office earlier on Thursday. He added that papers will be referred back to the Attorney General's chambers once the autopsy report is available. Wee's remand period ends Thursday. Police had earlier obtained a 6-day remand on November 5th, followed by a 3-day extension on November 10th. In Putrajaya, 7 enforcement officers were remanded for 3 days from Thursday to facilitate investigations into allegations that they accepted bribes to expedite applications under the Labour Recalibration Programme. According to sources, the suspects, comprising 4 men and 3 women aged between 30 and 50 years old, were brought before Magistrate Irzazulaika Rohanuddin by Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission officers. The suspects were detained at several locations around the Klang Valley on Thursday during an operation codenamed Op Bleach, carried out by the MACC's Intelligence Division. According to sources, Op Bleach was a follow-up to earlier operations Op Rentas and Op Daigo, which targeted syndicates manipulating official systems through counter-setting. Following the arrests, MACC seized over 116,000 ringgit in cash, 14 mobile phones, jewellery, gold bars, 3 cars and 2 motorcycles. The case is being investigated under the MACC Act. Tensions rise in Cambodia, Thailand conflict. The details when Nightline returns.
Siapa yang betul-betul gegarkan sosial media anda? Jom kita cari di obrolan paling viral online.
Tanyalah Ustaz, minggu ini, Isnin, rahsia dalam rumah. Selasa, sempurnakan kefarduanmu. Rabu, sebelum bernikah. Khamis, tipu muslihat syaitan. Jumaat, kompas jiwa. Sabtu, pemergian insan teragung. Ahad, siapa wali Allah? Tanyalah Ustaz, biar tahu jangan keliru di TV3 dan TV9. Stream juga melalui Tonton.
Arif, kalau kereta laba, awak suka kereta macam mana? Okay. Saya suka kereta klasik.
Saya mestilah Petong Saga, kereta pertama buatan Malaysia.
Arif, lelaki dia suka pernafasan bila ada masalah. Awak jangan macam tu. Sekarang banyak kes kesihatan mental lelaki.
Awak dah kahwin kan? Kalau nak jumpa mak bapak awak, kena minta kebenaran suami ke?
Takkan sampai nak ini. tak.
Kena tahulah hak ibu dan bapa selepas anak berkahwin.
Musim hujan ribut sekarang ni bahaya. Hati-hati bila lalu kawasan yang banyak pokok.
Isnin hingga Jumaat jam 10 pagi.
Eksklusif ditonton dari TV3.
Apabila datang, ia boleh mengambil alih kesemuanya, tubuh, minda dan hidup anda. Stres bukan sekadar tekanan perasaan tetapi boleh mengancam kesihatan secara keseluruhan. Kenalilah tanda-tanda stres sejak awal dan bincang mengenainya secara terbuka. Dapatkan sokongan moral dan emosi daripada orang di sekeliling anda serta bantuan profesional di saluran yang betul. Saksikan Hello Doktor Ahad 5.30 petang di TV3.
News from the foreign front now. Tensions on the Thailand-Cambodia border have escalated again after both countries exchanged blame over Wednesday's shooting incident, which reportedly claimed the life of a civilian. Cambodia's defense ministry said one resident was killed and 3 others injured following gunfire from the Thai side near the Bante Minche border area. In a statement, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet reaffirmed his country's commitment to peacefully resolving border disputes under the recent peace agreement, while firmly condemning what he described as the unprovoked use of violence. The incident followed a landmine explosion near the border earlier this week that injured several Thai soldiers. Previously, a major 5-day clash in July left 43 people dead and forced over 300,000 residents to flee before a U.S. President Donald Trump-backed ceasefire came into effect. At least 2 people were killed and 18 others injured after a truck crashed into a market in South Korea. The truck was reportedly driven by a man in his 60s who plowed into the sidewalk at a market in Bucheon on Thursday morning. 2 women who had suffered cardiac arrest were later confirmed to have died. The driver, arrested at the scene, told police that the brake had failed, but authorities suspected he had confused the accelerator with the brake. The truck reportedly reversed about 28 meters before moving forward roughly 150 meters through the market. The exact cause of the accident is still under investigation. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed a federal government spending bill less than 2 hours after the House of Representatives passed it, bringing an end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The new spending bill, which extends federal funding until January 30th, was backed by a margin of 222 to 209 in the Republican majority House. It was approved by the Senate earlier this week after 7 Democrats and 1 independent agreed to support it. Trump's signature brings an end to a 43-day shutdown that began on October 1st, during which all but essential government services had ground to a halt. Federal workers may return as early as Thursday, though the timeline for full government operations remains uncertain. Around 670,000 employees were furloughed, while a similar number worked without pay and are now set to receive back pay. On to sports now. Badminton and the 2025 Japan Masters. Malaysia's strong run in the Super 500 tournament continues, with 5 national representatives booking their places in the quarterfinals. Among the main highlights of the second round was women's singles player Wong Ling Ching, who pulled off a stunning upset. Ling Ching produced the biggest win of her career after upsetting Canada's world number 15 Michelle Lee 21-17, 16-21, 21-19. The world number 63 fought bravely for 62 minutes to secure her first ever Super 500 quarter-final berth and also her first win over a top 15 player. She will next face former world champion Ratchanok Intanon of Thailand for a place in the semi-finals. Meanwhile, all 3 Malaysian men's doubles pairs are through to the last 8. Goh Zifei and Nur Izzuddin Rumsani were pushed to the limit by Japan's world number 143 pair, Keiichiro Matsui and Katsuki Tamate, before prevailing 21-23, 21-13, 26-24 in a 64-minute thriller. They will face Taiwan's Li Jiehui and Yang Po Xuan next. In women's doubles, national aces Pearly Tan and M. Tina, who are chasing their third World Tour title of the season, easily dismissed South Korea's Jong Na-eun and Lee Yeon-woo 21-14, 21-9. They will next meet Taiwan's Su Yin-hui and Lin Ji-yun for a place in the last four. Turning to squash, Malaysia's number 2 women's player, Rachel Arnold, saw her China Open title defence come to an end after falling to Egypt's Hania Al-Hamami in the quarterfinals in Shanghai on Thursday. Rachel put up a fight but couldn't match the soon-to-be world number 1, losing 7-11, 1-11, 11-6, 6-11 in 36 minutes. Still, it was a credible performance from Rachel, who managed to take a game off Al-Hamami, something she had never done in their 5 previous meetings. The 25-year-old Egyptian, currently world number 2, sealed her spot in the semi-finals and is set to claim the top ranking for the first time next week. Before we leave, here's a look at Durham in northern England, where the biennial Lumiere Festival of Light returns, transforming the UNESCO-listed city with dazzling installations by artists such as Jake Cochran. I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.